So guys, this is another controller for the Nintendo Switch. It is a little pricey. They range for about $59, but you can get different versions of this, a Pikachu, is it Pikachu? Pikachu or Eevee, something like that. But there are also solid colors for you guys that are interested in the design. But I got this at Best Buy because I needed a new controller for the Nintendo Switch, something for the handheld that was a lot more comfortable than the traditional Joy-Cons. So with that being said, I'm going to show you how to actually use this and how good it actually works in real time. All right, guys, so like I said before, $59.99. It is a little expensive. To be honest with you, for a $20 difference or so, you can get the regular Joy-Cons, which is honestly a better option for those that want to play all games because they actually have a battery life. You know, Joy-Cons charge. You're able to use them detached from the system itself. Unfortunately, these Split Pad Pros, well, correction, there is a Split Pad Pro out there, the old edition. This is the compact edition that came out, I want to say a year or two after the fact. But anyway, these have to be connected to your system at all times in order to use. I'm going to pop it open for you so you can see it in all its glory. And I'll be honest with you, I got these at Best Buy. I didn't see them anywhere else. You could probably get them online, realistically, but I haven't seen them at any other stores. Now there is different editions, different versions of these. There's like I think like a gray, a black version. There is like a solid color. Then you have like a Pikachu or Eevee version or something like that. It's like yellow and gray. It looked a little messy. But when I saw the purple ones, right? I know I should be pulling it out with this, but it's fine. This is what I liked immediately. I'm not a huge Gengar fan. I mean, I like the Pokemon, but when you just look at the controller itself, one of the reasons is that this isn't going to smudge as much as a solid white Joy-Con or lighter colors. Now, you may want to get something to protect your analog, like a little rubber to go over this, because as you're playing a game, you're sweating, you're rubbing your face, you're touching it, greases. This is going to grease up and eventually stain the actual analog itself. But outside of that, I like them. And of course, this is all it comes with outside of the instructions that are right here. And I'll show you that in a moment. But first, this is more important. This is how they look. They look very, very cool. They do have two mappable buttons on the back. You press these little blue buttons on the side in order to disconnect the Joy-Con. So I'm going to show you that right now, so you won't have to ask the question later. So just like a regular Joy-Con, you put it on, you slide it down. This is how it connects. Then you press the button on the back to pull it up. If you don't do that, basically the Joy-Cons are going to stay connected, and you don't want to just rip them off because you probably damage your Switch itself. But you hold the button, slide it up, it comes right off. Now, pretty simple to use. Now, there's one thing that I want to show you guys that is 100% necessary before you can use these Joy-Cons. Like I said, I'm going to slide them both on. They're already connected to my system, but I'm going to show you guys how to connect them for the first time if you didn't do it or not. Let me see if I can power this on. There we go. So what you're supposed to do is go to the settings right here, and you can do this with your finger, or you can do this with your original Joy-Cons, or if it's connected to a dock, you can do this. And you should do this for every Switch that you own, just so you know. If you go down here where it says, I turn vibration off, but if you go down here where it says Pro Controller Wire Communication, turn it on. What that does is that it allows you to use non-branded Nintendo controllers, and it allows you to use other Nintendo branded controllers. Now, it'll say right here, Nintendo Pro Controller will communicate with the console via wire communication when connected to it using the USB charging cable. The NFC touch point in the Pro Controller will be disabled while the controller is using wired communication. Also, let me just add a little bit element to this. What that also does, also you're going to want to press update controller so the system can read if it needs any software updates. So what this also does, let's say you use a controller that's non-Nintendo branded, or it's like one of those Amazon controllers, right? Sometimes you'll connect them and they don't work, and you have to go through the regular pairing process. But remember, with this controller, which I'm going to show you, it's moving now, but the moment I disconnect it, it no longer has power. So it's not going to be able to move. But with the moment I connect it back on, I'm good to go. Instant connection. Also with third-party controllers, which this is licensed by Nintendo, but normally with third-party controllers, sometimes, you know, you'll connect your Joy-Cons, the off-brand ones, power down the system, hit it, turn it back on, and then the controllers aren't registering for the game. But when you hit the home button, it still works. I had that issue with some generic ones I had on Amazon. So this is one of the reasons why, even though you might find something that might look better than this, these react the way they're supposed to, the way Nintendo intended. So with that being said, I'm actually going to show you, sorry, that glare is all in your face. I'm actually going to show you guys some game footage of me playing so you can see just how well they actually work. So guys, Metroid Dread. Now, for you that haven't played this game, I'm a Metroid fan. I've always been all these years. I wasn't really big on the other Metroid titles, like the first-person shooters, but I always liked the third-person side-scrollers, whatever you want to call it, the platformer games. So I'm going to show you how well these controllers work. And the reason I'm showing you this one out of all of them is because I want you to get an accurate account of just how smooth the controller actually runs. So let me just explain that in a moment as soon as the game loads up. Because normally when you have off-brand controllers, sometimes the joycons don't feel like they're moving the way they're supposed to. It just doesn't feel good in the hand. But these feel very natural from the moment I connected them. And it's not surprising because the first Split Pad Pro was almost double the size and it had like these little hooks on the bottom. It was a really comfortable controller, but god ugly. It was so hideous. But they did a better job with these. So if you look around, when you press the jump button, everything responds the way it's supposed to be. Now, with Metroid games like this, you have to aim. There's like a standard lock on when you aim. And some of you guys are going to understand where I'm coming from. I'm sorry, I apologize if I can't explain it properly, but just hear me out. Normally, when you play games that are side scrollers or require you to shoot, you need a level of precision in your controller that allows you to be able to move comfortably and be able to hit enemies. And this controller really does that. Like the moment you tap it, there is no lag whatsoever with the controller input. And remember, it's because it's not connected through Bluetooth or anything, it's directly connected to the system and powered by the system. You don't have to worry about any lag whatsoever. If this was a different controller under a different company, you know, like a third party, you may have something you have to worry about, but this feels good. It looks good. I did have a problem with it at first where if you leave this controller in the palm of your hand like so while gripping it hard, it can press hard enough where, you know how you get that fatigue in your hand where it feels like you're going numb? That did happen to me quite a few times. And it only happened when I was playing Remnant. It didn't really happen when I played side-scroller games, but if I'm really into it, because I hold my hands a certain way. Remember, I play on my phone, I play on the computer, I use different types of controllers. And because of the weight of the Switch itself, this huge system in the middle, if you hold it with one hand, I can feel all the weight being pressed into the palm of my hand, and it was starting to go numb that fast. So be aware, if it's a younger child, their hands should be fine because younger children have smaller hands. Their hands, if we're being honest, are really meant for the original Joy-Cons. But if they're using something like this, they shouldn't really have an issue unless your fingers are like microscopically small. But so far, I really like it. It feels good. I play games like Remnant. Let me just give you an idea of some of the games I have on the system. I have more, but I think it's a 256 gig memory card in here, so I can't hold all of my games anymore. I'm missing over half of them. But just to give you an idea, these are a lot of games that I play. You have Skyrim, you have Zelda, Tactics Ogre, Unmetal. A lot of these games are side-scroller right here. This is like a tabletop game. Moonscars, you ever heard of that? Ori, we have Monopoly. I'm not even going to talk about Monopoly. Be tearing my wife up in the game. Metroid Prime, the Mercenary Saga. Again, most of the games I'm playing on this are side-scroller games. That's what I use the Nintendo for personally. So that's why I say for you guys out there that are playing more third-party games like Dragon's Dogma. Do I have Dragon's Dogma on here? I have it. It's just not downloaded. But yeah, most of the games I have are side-scroller games. There are a couple like third-person kind of Dark Souls type games on here. But again, I like it. It's very comfortable. As long as I keep the weight distributed properly while I'm laying in bed or sitting on a chair or I'm driving in the car. Well, I'm not driving. I'm the person in the passenger seat. I would not drive while playing this. It's pretty good. And they look good. Now, there is another issue that you guys are going to need to be aware of. And I have to say this before we even close up this video. Right here, because these stick out so far, technically you could put it down and it won't really damage the system. The system itself is not going to get touched, as you can see. So if it seems like I'm scraping the system, I'm not. These make it sit up, and because of the edges of the controller, the system itself will never get scraped. So that's a good thing. The reason for that is because there is no case that can fit over this. See, normally cases fit over the Switch completely, but because of these big things right here, unless you're willing to cut a plastic case to fit around this, and then you'll probably have jagged edges unless you're a carpenter or you know how to do that type of thing, you're not going to be able to put a case on this. And I'm an adult. So for me, I don't really care if I have a case on my system. It stays in a book bag 90% of the time, unless it's in a dock at home. A little kid is probably going to scrape up their system. So, be aware that if you buy these, the cases that you normally have for it will not fit. And if they're accident prone, well, then it may not be for you. So that's about it. But like I said, outside of that, I really like it. It feels good. I like the controller. It runs smoothly. I have no issues whatsoever. And it's definitely one that I'm going to keep. Now, there is a Split Pad Pro, the original, where it's a connector piece in the middle that allows you to snap these onto it and then plug it up to the system. But that'll be for another video because that's a different product. Now let's go into the next section. Now, like we talked about, I don't use this feature whatsoever, and I don't care about this feature, but I do want to give you the instructions for it at least. Now, there are 2 mappable buttons like we talked about on the back of this pad right here. And they're a nice size where it's easy to hit, where your fingers are practically resting on it if you need to use it necessary, or your palms more so are resting on it. If you go right here, because these instructions actually show you how to connect the system, but I already explained how to do that, but I'm just going to do this slowly for anyone that's wondering. So you go to the settings, system update, but you also turn on that pro setting that I talked about. You want that on regardless of any controller that you use, because again, if you use third party or quarter controllers or certain things, sometimes they don't work properly until you turn that on. So this is the settings right here for all the buttons for the Nintendo Switch. Right here, how to map. I'm going to leave this open for you guys. I'm going to move my finger. I'm going to zoom in on each page so you can see it properly. Here you go. And you can actually screenshot what it is that you want. And then I'm going to put it over here so you can screenshot what you want. So it does have turbo, just so you know. See? The unassigned and assign button. I'm going to go to the next page so you can see it. Here you go. For the turbo. I don't know what turbo is even being used for in this day and age. Like, what games are you still button mashing in? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't really play like Nintendo-based games all the time. Maybe they have games like Mario Party where you got to match buttons fast, but I don't do that. I don't have that issue. And that's pretty much it. Now, what I will also say is, let me just show you this. You remember it said assign? This is the assign button right here. It's on the left-hand side, and this is the turbo button right here. You still have your screenshot button, minus up top, plus up top. You have the home, you have assign and turbo also on the side. You may wonder why. Remember, this assign is over here. This assign is for the left side. Pretty simple. I like it. It's a pretty cool creation in my opinion. Again, the price tag, I would have wished that this was more like $40, to be honest with you, because it doesn't have the wireless capability. And that's a huge thing for a lot of people. So if you're playing with friends and they're in the same house with you and you only have one Switch, well, sorry guys, too bad, so sad. You won't be using these controllers. That's why I say, the value to me should be lower, but it is what it is. It's fine. I still like them. They're going to last me for long periods of time. I only had them for like 2 weeks. So understand I didn't have any Joy-Con drift yet. Now, I don't know if you get that on these controllers, but you kind of take that chance with any controller that you get. To be honest, Joy-Con drift has been here since, I don't know, PlayStation 1, I guess, with the analog. So it is what it is. But like and subscribe like always. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. And like I said, subscribe. It's free. Take care.